You know, we type them, we click on them, we copy and paste them all day, every day. But have you ever stopped to wonder what that long string of text in your browser's address bar actually is? Well, today, we're going to decode it. We're going to learn how to read the map of the entire internet. Okay, to really get this, let's start with a big idea. Just imagine for a second that the entire World Wide Web is one massive, sprawling city of information. A city with billions and billions of buildings, libraries, and storefronts. So in a digital metropolis that's practically infinite, how on earth do you find anything, right? How do you tell your browser exactly which building to go to, which floor to get off on, and which specific file you need? You need a bulletproof address system. And this crazy-looking thing right here, that is your map. I know, right now it probably looks like a bunch of random gibberish, but I promise, by the end of this, you're going to be able to read this thing like a seasoned digital explorer. So, what do we call this map? Well, it's got a formal name, and it is absolutely the key to finding, well, anything and everything online. It's called a URL. That stands for Uniform Resource Locator. The best way to think about it is like a postal address. It's the one, unique, super precise address for every single file, every image, every page on the entire web. No two are ever the same. All right, so now, let's do it. Let's get our hands dirty and perform a full dissection. We're going to take that URL apart, piece by piece, and really understand the story it's telling us about our journey through this digital city. First things first, let's look at that HTTPS right at the beginning. This is what we call the protocol. And I know, it sounds super technical, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple.
The protocol is just the set of rules for the conversation between your browser and the server. In our city metaphor, it's basically your mode of transportation. It decides how you're going to travel to get the data you're looking for.
And this is where it gets really, really important. You have a choice of vehicle. Think of HTTP as a regular car. Sure, it gets you there, but your data, everything you send and receive, is out in the open for anyone to see. But HTTPS, with that crucial S for secure, that's like traveling in an armored car. All your data is encrypted, completely scrambled, and safe. That's why you always want to see that little padlock icon in your browser. Okay, next up is the heart of the address, the domain name. This tells us our main destination. Now you might also see those numbers there, the :443. That's the port number. Think of it like the specific gate you use to enter a secure building. For HTTPS, it's almost always gate 443. So together, the domain and the port guide us to the right building and get us in through the correct, secure entrance.
And the domain itself has this really cool little hierarchy. You start broad with the top-level domain, or TLD. That's the .com part. It tells us we're headed to a commercial district. Then you get more specific with the second-level domain, Google, which is the unique name of that district. And finally, you have the subdomain docs, which is the specific building we're looking for inside that Google district. It's like going from country to city to a specific street address.
So, we've found the right building. We're in. But now what? Where inside this massive building do we go? Well, that's exactly what this next part, the path, tells us.
The path is basically the exact file location on the server. So if docs.google.com is our giant library, then /spreadsheets/d/12345 is like telling the librarian, I need the book from the spreadsheets aisle on shelf D, and it's book number 12345. It's the exact floor and room number.
And what about this last little bit, the part that starts with a question mark? This is called a query string, and you can think of it as a special instruction or a note we're handing over. So a query string is basically a note you give to the server once you arrive. It gives it extra instructions. For example, when you do a Google search, your search terms are in the query string. In our case, $USP = sharing is just a little note telling the server, hey, present this file in a way that's ready for sharing.
Okay, we've taken it all apart. Now for the fun part. Let's put all those pieces back together and see the entire journey from start to finish.
So let's recap the whole story. We hopped in our secure armored vehicle, which is HTTPS. We drove to the google.com district and went to the docs building, entering through secure gate 443. Once inside, we followed the path straight to the spreadsheets floor to room number 12345. And when we got there, we handed the server a little note that said USPE equals sharing. See? Every single part has a job, guiding our browser with perfect precision.
And there you have it. What looked like a totally random mess of characters just a few minutes ago is now a clear, readable map. But, solving one mystery almost always leads you to another one.
The big takeaway here is that you now have the power to decode pretty much any web address you see. You can look at a URL and understand the journey it represents, the destination it's pointing to, and the specific thing it's asking for. You're never going to look at that address bar the same way again. But that leaves us with one final and really fascinating question. We know computers don't really understand names. They live on numbers, IP addresses. So how does a human-friendly name like Google.com magically get translated into a number that a computer can actually use? What is this giant magic phone book for the entire internet? Well, that's a story for our next explainer. See you then.